and welcome to the 2-year anniversary special edition episode of the Schmozcast. I'm Anthony in the studios here at 103.5 The Sun, WLSP, LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, Sun Prairie Media Center, along with Aiden and Andre. Andre, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well.
Good. How about you, Aiden?
Doing wonderful.
All right. Thank you both for being with us. Chandler is out tonight, but this is going to be our last show for a little bit. We're taking a little holiday hiatus, so you will hear from us again in January. You can still, of course, pay attention to our social media at the Schmozcast. We got a YouTube page. You can catch up on old shows in the meantime, but on our other social media platforms, we'll still be active there on Facebook as well as Twitter. We got the Instagram. We got all that good stuff, don't we?
Absolutely. You can find us at the Schmozcast on all those platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yep.
I don't think I'm forgetting anything else, though.
No, that's all we got now. Is there any dead social media platforms that we should get on now?
Tout.
There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. Man, that one went up in a blaze of glory. That's not true. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. Becky Lynch is... So I avoided this for a long time. I didn't want to buy into what you and Chandler and maybe even Aiden were saying for quite a while, that Becky Lynch
what the world was saying
was the best thing in wrestling. I think over the last month, she's certainly won me over. But you guys you've been on this train for a while now and saying that she might be your favorite professional wrestler, period, or at least active.
At the moment, absolutely.
But now, is HBK active enough for you to change your stance on that?
If he wrestles another match, maybe, but he's not at the level that Becky Lynch is at right now, so no.
All right.
He's the GOAT, but he's an old GOAT.
Aiden, have you been on this Becky Lynch train for a while as well?
I've been a fan of Becky Lynch since she was in NXT, and then especially when she she was the first SmackDown Women's Champion since the brand split, and I've been clamoring for her to get that second title reign in, and as soon as she finally did, I was hype all the way to the moon.
Yeah, and she has done a wonderful job, absolutely splendid. She is the biggest thing in WWE, at least. We'll get to some of the things going on with her, as well as Daniel Bryan, and we'll go over your Survivor Series card. That's, of course, usually the Sunday going into Thanksgiving, so that'll be this Sunday. You've also got NXT Takeover on Saturday. Lots of stuff to get into and talk about. So Becky Lynch shows up on Monday Night Raw, as did some other female superstars from SmackDown, but the Becky Lynch is really the biggest deal. You want to take us into that a little bit?
Yes. There was a match going on, and all of a sudden there's a commotion in the back, and camera cuts back, shaky cam, all that kind of stuff, and Becky Lynch has Ronda Rousey in a disarm her in the back, and then she ends up making her way down to the ring where all the other women, the Raw women, are in the ring. Struts down by herself, and then next thing you know, the rest of the SmackDown women come out, and there's a huge brawl in the ring. Becky Lynch gets popped in the face incidentally by Nia Jax and got busted open. She was bleeding like crazy. She kept going, and it turns out, as we know now, she has a concussion and a fracture in her face. I don't know if the fracture is legit. I know the concussion is, but I don't know if the fracture is built up to make it seem like it's a bigger deal than it is. But a lot of people online were saying it, and I thought it too, when she was leaving the arena through the crowd with her hands in the air with that smug look on her face, blood dripping all over her face. That was almost like her Austin 316 moment,
WrestleMania 13
or her WrestleMania
Bret Hart.
13 moment. One of those two, where everyone in the wrestling world has been already talking about her, but that was what put it over the top to where she's
undeniable at this point.
People that not like you, but people kind of like you that weren't at first were like, I'm not so sure. They were shown, but then unfortunately, her concussion means that her match with Ronda Rousey is off, which is actually, I don't think this is a bad thing. At first, I was devastated, but
it might gain more heat actually and make it better down the road for when it does happen. And you're hoping for WrestleMania right now.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping that because they didn't do it at Survivor Series, that they do it at WrestleMania. That being Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, and the way that they're going at each other on Twitter, man, I'm all for it. I'm kind of glad that they're not getting to touch yet. I mean, they have touched, but they're not getting to wrestle in an actual match yet. And I think this might be a blessing in disguise. And, you know, I mentioned Austin 316 moment. You mentioned WrestleMania 13. To use the Austin metaphor or analogy, whatever word is correct there, this might be her broken neck moment, where Austin, when he broke his neck, he was in the middle of a huge push too. And it ended up helping him because the fans wanted to see him and they couldn't. And then they built that into the whole McMahon Austin thing. Mm-hmm. Not that they have to do the exact same thing with her, but I'm just hoping that this turns out to be a blessing in disguise like that.
Aiden, you got to be loving every bit of this, right?
Absolutely, because, you know, this truly signifies that she is the man, not only for beating Charlotte Flair, but for coming out, invading Raw, getting punched in the face, and then smiling afterwards with just blood everywhere. And then, you know, unfortunately, yes, it's that we won't have the match against Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series, but this almost certainly leading up to an even bigger match. And I'm also hoping that it's at WrestleMania, because this is a WrestleMania level match. Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. Maybe even too big for Survivor Series.
So here's what I almost think that Royal Rumble is the place to do this. Not that I don't want to see it at Mania, I'm fine with that, but I think sometimes you gotta strike while the iron's hot kind of thing. And also, with there being a Women's Royal Rumble, the two people who wouldn't be in the Women's Royal Rumble would be the two champions. So I think that also would be a good spot. Also, the only time it gets bigger than the Royal Rumble is WrestleMania. And it's not like you couldn't necessarily have a rematch if you work something out by then, depending on who the Royal Rumble winner is. I mean, there's a way you could kind of kayfabe it that at the pay-per-view or pay-per-views in between Rumble and Mania that Becky Lynch gets the right or takes the right away from whoever wins the Women's Royal Rumble to face Ronda Rousey or Charlotte Flair. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. So I think that the Royal Rumble would, as long as injury forbidding that she's able to.
Another thing they could do too is in 2009, you know, SmackDown's going to be on Fox, so there's rumor and innuendo, as they say, they being Conrad Thompson, that the B show will now be SmackDown, so you can always somehow take the title off of Ronda. She can win the Rumble, challenge Becky, or vice versa. Becky can, right now, if she has to miss extended period of time, they can take the title off of her, you know. And the fans would hate that, and that's even better, because they'd be like, well, Brock doesn't have to defend. How come she does?
Right.
And that actually would play perfectly into the narrative of her being held down all this time and having to break through this glass ceiling. So take the title off of her. She could win that. So yeah, there's a lot of options they could do. So they could do. I'll be curious to see where they go with this, but this needs to happen for sure, this Lynch and Ronda Rousey match.
It's crazy to think. You mentioned the SmackDown switching to Fox, and they are going to Fridays. Is that right? Or is that just...
I don't know. I've heard that that's probably happening, but I haven't heard if that's official. Okay. Maybe it is. I just don't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that for a switch for 2019, but I know the Fox move is imminent for SmackDown. Raw's going to stay on USA though. That's still the case, right? They still re-upped the Raw deal, so it's only SmackDown that'll be moving. So we talked about, or you mentioned how Nia Jax is the one who busted open Becky Lynch. I've also heard some people say that it was a Dana Brooke kick. So I've heard both of these via different stories on Twitter. Aiden, you want to drop in on that one?
Being as the one who sacrifices himself and watches Monday Night
Thank
Live.
Thank you so much.
The thing was, Nia Jax is the one who busted open Becky Lynch. Mm-hmm. The deal with Lana was actually Dana Brooke who actually kicked Lana and hurt her. So it was a completely separate situation that kind of got overshadowed by the Becky Lynch, you know, because blood everywhere. Because there wasn't any noticeable injuries to Lana from Dana Brooke, but they handled that one a lot. Very quickly. They got doctors on her right away, the ones at ringside. So that's what happened with Dana Brooke. It was who kicked Lana.
And that makes sense because Lana did kind of come out and say something to, or just release a statement, or was replying to fans on Twitter about, what happened and how they were fighting, but it was, she didn't mean to hurt her, and that's why they got the doctors in there right away, and that was. So I guess that all makes sense. So I was a little confused as to, because some people I thought, or it seemed like some people were saying that Dana Brooke was being dangerous and mentioning Nia Jax also, but then I saw a Twitter poll about who would you least like to face, like Nia or Brie Bella, with the incidents over the last few months. I guess you could throw Lana in there as well, or Dana. All four really, but.
And there was a little confusion at first. There was someone said it was an elbow, but then there was a fan released a cell phone footage, and it's clearly a punch to the face.
Right before they got thrown out, right?
I believe so. You're talking about the fans.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, we've kind of seen that before at our trip to SmackDown back in March, and it's sometimes they let it go quite a bit, and sometimes they're a little bit too quick on the trigger to kick fans out for that,
for videotaping.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got a Daniel Bryan heel turn. Is this in terms of the end of the night? So I'm not going to speculate on Raw, but I'm going to guess after 3 hours. And as we said last week, they're not allowed to go over 10 o'clock anymore. This had to be one of the best combination of go-home episodes in I don't know how long, between the combination of Becky Lynch on Raw with the bloody face and then the Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. Was it not?
Definitely. I didn't watch Raw, but I did go back and watch that whole last segment as soon as I saw that Becky Lynch was on it, because I have to consume anything Becky Lynch related media wise, and I was left kind of in awe of that. But then the whole night of SmackDown was the opening of the show, where they had Daniel Bryan be mentioned by Paul Heyman alongside HBK and AJ Styles, and then having Daniel Bryan come out and tell AJ Styles, "Get your name out of my mouth," and then them announcing the title match that night. Something inside me was like, Daniel Bryan's going to win this title because Becky Lynch is out. It turns out that they decided to put the title on him even before the injury happened. But in my mind last night, I was saying, Becky Lynch is out. They don't have the match with Ronda anymore. Why would they do AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar again? So they're going to put the title on Daniel Bryan. So going up into that match, I was tentatively hopeful that Daniel Bryan was going to win, because at the same time I was like, this could be a red herring. They could just be setting it up to make us think the title's going to change hands. But for them to do it the way that they did it, having Daniel Bryan and poor AJ Styles, it's been a heck of a year as far as low blows are concerned. But for having the ref to get knocked out and Daniel Bryan kicking him in the groin and then hitting him with his finish, and then on top of that, just beating the tar out of him after the match, was very unexpected, shocking, and I was literally shaking for a long time afterwards, and in a good way, because of how excited I was. I was trying to text my cousin Mike, who's contributed to the show as well, to tell him what happened. I asked him, "Hey, do you want a spoiler?" before I just told him, but I was trying to type on my phone, and I was like having a hard time typing out what happened because I was in such shock. Because Daniel Bryan's the ultimate babyface. He's the underdog. He's the guy I thought that they wouldn't.
And he has been for 7 years.
Time.
Like maybe maybe when he fought CM Punk at is it No Limit or
2012 or 2013 was when he made the turn from heel to babyface,
like during
with the Yes movement, and never looked back.
Okay, because God, I can't think of what the pay-per-view was where he faced CM Punk, and I want to say he was billed as the heel, and it was in that same, I think it was the same summer as Punk was going to leave, and he beat Cena and left in Chicago with the title when everyone thought that his contract was up after the pipe bomb and everything. And maybe that could have been 2010 as well.
That was 2011.
It was 2011. We actually talked about it on Pop Culture Time Capsule a few weeks ago when we did that. We did 2011 for a show, and I had to do an honorable mention for the CM Punk pipe bomb. But Aiden, for go-home episodes, we don't usually get 2 in a row that are as monumental as this, do we?
Oh, no, not in years. Ever since even I started watching, the near 10 years I've been watching wrestling, it has not been 2 great go-home shows, and not even 2 great closing shots. Because the last shot on Raw being Becky Lynch in the crowds with the bloody face, and then the final shot of SmackDown being just Daniel Bryan smirking and holding up the title. It was just two great, perfect shots to end both nights, and really just two great go-home episodes for what was billed to be a stellar card to begin with for Survivor Series, and then everything's being flipped on its head in just 2 days.
And this is the time, and we sort of got it on Monday, but it was quite a bit more important because it was the women, and Becky Lynch is so hot right now. But usually it is just a schmoz going into especially Survivor Series in both cases. So to get what we got out of it really is a big deal, and it really did extend my excitement going into this weekend.
Here's the funny thing.
And we haven't even mentioned NXT.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing about the main roster that I find very interesting. And a lot of this is going based off of things that Meltzer and Brian Alvarez and other people have reported. But it sounds like a lot of the plans for SummerSlam have drastically changed in the past several weeks to months because of Roman Reigns' illness. They weren't going to do the brand versus brand again this year. They were kind of going to go away from that, but the Roman Reigns thing kind of changed that. And then you have the Becky Lynch injury, and then you have the Daniel Bryan heel turn, which was decided Tuesday, a couple hours before the match. I guess Daniel Bryan, according to Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan has been pitching it for a few days now to Vince that he wanted to turn heel. So this is actually a DB idea, but they pulled the trigger, or decided to pull the trigger a couple hours before that match. So I wonder if Becky Lynch doesn't get hurt, if Roman Reigns doesn't get sick, which I wish didn't happen, of course, but because it did for both of those things, they kind of had to change direction. And I wonder if that kind of led to a little bit more of what we're seeing now, which is actually really exciting because it's unexpected. They kind of swerved us a little bit, especially with the Daniel Bryan thing.
Good for them.
That I wonder if all this doesn't happen if those
two things don't happen.
If those two things don't happen, and it makes you wonder if the WWE can do things like this more if they feel the pressure to. And I kind of wish they did. I mean, obviously, I wish it wasn't in these circumstances, but
the low ratings might be a contributor there as well, because they've had a really rough go. I mean, as of late, but especially this last month or two, and some really like record lows, especially when you think about back-to-back weeks or continuous weeks. They really have had a rough stretch for ratings, especially for Raw. Are you guys surprised at all by this happening with Daniel Bryan after kind of bailing on the crown jewel at all? I'm glad to see that was not, like, that didn't hurt him, and they were like, no, you can go back to we're going to put you in U.S. title picture, which wouldn't be that bad because I'd love to see that rivalry. But are you surprised at all that he was still able to allow to do this, even with him backing out of that?
Absolutely. I was very surprised. And then I was even more surprised today when I read from Brian Alvarez that the decision to put the title on Bryan was made before Becky Lynch even got hurt. That boggled my mind even more because it's like, maybe they're not punishing him. They just wanted to keep it a secret or something. I don't know, but it did shock me because I thought that based on everything we had heard that Daniel Bryan was out of the title picture after the SmackDown prior to Crown Jewel. So I was completely surprised.
What about you, Aiden?
Yeah, this kind of came out of left field for me, especially because, they had it was only 2 weeks ago that they had the match for Crown Jewel was scheduled for that Tuesday.
Which was the Daniel Bryan injury or kayfabe injury, right? To get him not to, or like at least storyline?
It wasn't really an injury. It's just like they have the match and then they just put Samoa Joe in the picture because he just puts a coquina clutch on him but not injures him.
Okay. They did the whole, they couldn't wait till Crown Jewel, so we're going to do it tonight. And Shane came out and said, we're actually going to do it this time, and gave him the match. So
what a twist. They actually did it.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to mention something that I noticed. It was a post on Reddit how it was kind of comparing how the last year Survivor Series actually like the 2 weeks leading beforehand in 2017, how everything kind of changed in those 2 weeks, similar to how everything in this card changed in the last 2 weeks. And in 2017, we were originally going to have Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar. And now then it changed to AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar. And this year was supposed to be AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar. Now it's Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar.
That's what AJ gets for hindering Jinder, by the way.
Right, yeah. Well, also wasn't there a Roman Reigns staph infection and AJ Styles or
that was TLC.
Oh, was it TLC?
Yes.
Well, because
thank goodness for that, because we didn't have to see Sister Abigail, but I digress.
Maybe that's the case. But I remember because AJ Styles had to come to fight. Was it Balor or Lesnar?
Balor.
Balor had
that was
okay.
That was not Survivor Series though.
Okay,
that was TLC last year.
It was TLC last year because who else? Oh yeah, that's right. Bray Wyatt was affected, and then Roman Reigns was taken off the card. Okay.
Yes. And then also another thing would be originally in 2017 it was going to be Alexa Bliss versus Natalya for their respective championships, and then it was changed to Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte, and then now again this year it was originally going to be Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, but now it's Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte, so that's even more kind of similarities. And even crazier than that, originally for 2017 it was going to be Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins versus the Usos 2017, and then the Bar won on the Raw tag titles, and then that match changed.
Ambrose hurt his elbow in that one, right?
Yes. And now this year the tag championship match is changed, where it was originally going to be Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins again versus the Bar, and now it's AOP versus the Bar.
Yeah.
And also surprisingly, last year the Intercontinental and United States Championship match did not change at all, and again this year Intercontinental Championship and the United States match doesn't change either.
Holy cow! That is the mirror effect if I've ever heard it. I didn't even put that together. Well done. That's good. That's good stuff right there.
Thank you to Reddit.
It's so funny. A couple days ago, Ryan Satin, journalist Satin, he's
Satan.
He tweeted out something to the extent of, which match should main event? Should it be Becky versus Ronda, or should it be Lesnar versus Styles? Yeah. And neither one of those two matches are happening.
Yeah. Well,
and now Daniel Bryan's a heel.
Unbelievable. So, okay.
Is he going to do a good job? I think he's going to kill it.
Yes.
I think it's going to be the best thing that could have happened to him at this stage in his career and his story.
Do you think Brie would make a good heater? Is that going to be involved at all?
I think that would be a great.
I think it'd be good
too.
Be a
great
idea. People
idea.
hate her on Twitter right now.
And she can use that to her advantage and just heal it up.
Yeah.
Man, that would be good.
He should become Daniel Bella.
Do the Mike Kanellis thing.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
What surprised me even more is now we're living in a timeline where The Miz is right.
Yeah.
How about that?
So now what I'm feeling is going to be the upcoming Miz versus Bryan for the championship matches. Now Miz is going to be kind of booked as the face of it.
That's going to be fun.
I
never
hope
saw
you're
this
right.
coming.
I know.
Before we jump into something else, who do you think's, first of all, which out of both of you guys, which heel turn was better, and which heel run is going to be better? That being Daniel Bryan and Johnny Gargano.
Aiden,
I'll let you go first if you'd like.
I like Gargano's heel turn a tiny bit more because it was more dastardly because nobody saw and we had to guess for so long about who attacked Aleister Black, and we were all speculating, and eventually it turns out to be Gargano, where that's a surprise. And the Bryan heel turn was just a sudden surprise, and it's hard to see where it'll go. But I'm looking forward to how the Bryan heel turn will actually progress overall, and more so than the Gargano heel turn.
Very good. Did you say dastardly about the Gargano heel turn just because he was on NXT and that was a promotion managed? That is a promotion managed by William Regal, and he says that word a lot.
Did I say dastardly?
You did.
That's great.
I didn't even notice.
But I
just came out.
I digress.
Should we get into these cards? Well, I guess before we do, you're kind of wondering what's up with AJ Styles, right? Like, is he going to be?
Well, I'm just curious as to what's going to happen with
Or
him.
just overall?
Give the man's nuts some rest, all right?
That's
He's
true.
had a rough year.
Okay, I want to ask that. Do you guys have a problem with them rehashing that as the way for a heel turn to happen against AJ Styles?
No, and there's one reason why. Again, thanks to Reddit for pointing it out. But if you recall, AJ Styles' first championship win was over Dean Ambrose from a low blow. So karma comes back to kick him.
So not only does karma come back for him hindering Jinder last year, karma comes back for him for low blowing Dean Ambrose. That's really good continuity, even though it was guaranteed unintentional on WWE's part. But if not, good.
Just
good
a
for them.
strange, wonderful coincidence.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm just curious as to what he's going to do at Survivor Series, because he's not currently on the card. Does that mean he gets involved in the Lesnar-Bryan match?
Commentary, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know. That's just a...
Well, let's get into the Survivor Series card. We'll get to NXT in a little bit. The Cruiserweight matchup, you've got Buddy Murphy coming in as the champ against Mustafa Ali. Is this going to be pre-show?
Unfortunately.
I think so. I hope not. I didn't actually look to see if it was pre-show, but I think I got that from CBS, and they didn't mention anything about that. But I hope not. But it probably will, knowing track record.
And then one of our Survivor Series style matches, you've got Team Raw, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, The Ascension, Lucha House Party, B-Team, and The Revival against SmackDown's team, which is the Usos, New Day, Good Brothers. It's Sanity and the Colognes. So the Colognes popped up out of nowhere, and Sanity... Sanity, only one of them was given a shirt, if I'm not mistaken, in that backstage promo with the Usos handing out shirts. They gave it to Eric Young, so I don't know what that means exactly.
Good.
So only Eric Young got the shirt. I don't know if that means that he's the one to get it, but still you had all three members were there. All three male members were there.
I don't think the shirts did have anything to do with it. I think they just kind of gave him the shirts to be like, this, you're on the team.
You're part of the
Is it-
SmackDown
Okay.
Penitentiary.
That'd be a weird way to pick your members.
Because you would have, you got both members of the Usos. You think you'd get two members of the New Day. You get both Good Brothers, so that's 6. The 2 Colognes, which would be 8. I don't know. It's just, but the thing is, you could go the other way. Are all members of Lucha House Party going to be there? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
See, on the
I used to really like these, but now it's just been so jumbled the last few years.
The Survivor Series matches.
Yeah, the way they advertised it, they just showed all the members of each team. So
Okay,
it
so
looks
okay.
like it's like 11 on 12.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how they'll do it, but I'd like to if they did it like that.
Just a lot of real quick eliminations. That could be fun. I mean, that's why the Colognes are in there, as well as
First ones to go.
I don't know, maybe the Ascension. I'm not sure. We'll see how this
I like the Ascension.
how
though.
this works. I do too, and especially this last year with what they've been doing with Fashion Police. But I also think that they're going to get eliminated swiftly.
They got wins over Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, who are the captains.
You guys like them as a team right now? I don't get to see them, so I guess this question goes to Aiden.
Goes to Aiden because I don't watch Raw.
I liked the first 2 weeks after they formed, and after that it just kind of got weird and boring because it looks like Chad Gable just trying to get in Bobby Roode's spotlight, even though his spotlight is kind of dimmed since being on the main roster.
Yes. Hopefully Bobby Roode turns on Gable, and that could be a fun rivalry. Those guys were in NXT at least for a little bit at the same time, and we need Bobby Roode as a heel. We just do.
Yes, agreed.
So I certainly hope that's the case. Tag champs versus tag champs, AOP versus The Bar. Aiden, you mentioned this one, how this is like last year has changed a little bit, but what do you guys think about this one? Both of these 2 tag matches I'm not super pumped about, but I mean, as you know, I'm not an AOP guy whatsoever. I do love Cesaro, and I've never been a big Sheamus guy. However, I do enjoy watching his workout videos, and he's got a great one on YouTube with him and Daniel Bryan that was very helpful in helping me get my bottom to the gym. So it was really good. And it's funny to see how Sheamus struggled with Daniel Bryan's workout, and Daniel Bryan only does heavy lifting on one particular workout, which is deadlifts. Deadlifts is the only thing that Daniel Bryan does heavy. Everything else, it's like maybe 15-pound weights and a lot of cardio and different, like, I don't know. You have to see the video, but it's very fun to see like the real life Daniel Bryan and Sheamus struggle with Daniel Bryan's workouts. It's great. It was very entertaining.
I like those kind of things. Although this match, I'm not sure I'm gonna like. I don't have anything with any. I don't have any issues with any of the participants involved. Not even AOP. Unlike you, I don't hate AOP. Actually, somewhat like them. I just would have loved to see AOP versus the New Day. I think that would have been really fun. And then you got the added bonus of whichever member of New Day doesn't get in the ring, and then AOP's manager, who's also the GM of 205 Live to Tape, Drake Maverick. So you would have had a couple interesting things with that, but I'm just nothing about the Bar versus AOP has me chomping at the bit to really. Oh, this is a must-watch match. You know,
isn't that the issue with a lot of these when you do brand versus brand instead of the heels versus the faces on each show? Isn't that like an issue you're going to run into a lot of the time?
Yeah, I didn't want to even see it this year, and thank goodness they turned Daniel Bryan and put the title on him, because after Becky was announced out, like my desire to watch the show just went.
Yeah,
it was so weird. I felt like someone on the Spurs that got hurt. I got like the same feeling when I found out that she wasn't going to participate on Sunday. I was like,
Lonnie Walker tore his meniscus. So,
but he's coming back. He's posted some things on Instagram, so he's coming back. But yeah, I was like, I don't really want to see it, and I'm glad that they turned Daniel because it gives me something to look forward to. But I think that speaks to, I don't know, I hope next year they go away from the brand versus brand thing.
Yeah, other than a few things, I do like. Sometimes I like champ versus champ, but I don't know.
When it's the whole card.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Aiden, 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. What's your excitement level, AOP in the Bar?
Well, compared to the rest of the card, it is going to be my least look forward to match. I like the tag team Survivor elimination match just because it's so many people, and it would probably just be fun to them just all flying around and doing whatever. And I like both teams, AOP and the Bar. It's just out of all the other matches, this kind of one will unfortunately be overshadowed. And I like the idea of brand versus brand for the potential of it, but sometimes the execution has not been the best.
This is not a dream matchup of any kind. At least I'm talking about the tag teams versus the two tag champions.
Yeah. And there's no real heat behind it. I don't watch Raw, but I watch SmackDown, and I didn't really get, like, whatever. Like, I didn't. Yeah, this match just whatever. I don't know. Need to say more.
The thing is, actually, with both teams, the titles are just kind of thrown on them with a little build up, and now they're just kind of gonna go at it
too. Good point.
I mean,
it could be a lot of potatoes in this match, though. It's like it is two hard hitting teams, so there is that.
And I'm looking forward to, especially when Big Show just picks up Drake Maverick with one hand, just kind of tosses him to the side.
Yeah, there's that. But I didn't think about the Big Show and Drake Maverick potential that they could have, because that's going to be fun.
Just one little spot.
That spot will be fun. I'll watch it for that spot.
Because I can think that Big Show and he get in the ring, and while the other teams are outside, and you just lobs him right over the rope.
Yeah, that's
now,
fair.
Did you say potato in honor of Drake Maverick's formerly known as Rockstar Spud? Or was that a happy coincidence?
It was actually a Sheamus.
Potatoes.
Potatoes. Get your potatoes. Next up, we'll have Seth Rollins, currently the IC champ on Raw, against Shinsuke Nakamura, the US champ on SmackDown. This could end up being the match of the night. I don't think this is getting too much publicity, but this is like the dream match a minor dream match, I guess, of sorts that I am very excited for. So I think this one could end up being your match of the night. That would be maybe not speculated upon beforehand, but I love Rollins. I love Nakamura. I think this will be very good stuff here.
In a world where there was no Becky Lynch
there is no Daniel Bryan
or Becky Lynch, I think this would have been the match we're all talking about. If we're not talking about Becky Lynch, her rise, her injury, Daniel Bryan's title win and heel turn, we're talking about this match. Because when you look at the rest of the card, this is the only other match that doesn't involve those two that really stands out, to me at least. And I think it's going to be great. And I think you're right. I think it is going to it might steal the show. We'll see how that cruiserweight match goes. but that's pre-show. So they'll steal the pre-show.
I like the subtle build up to it because on Raw you have Rollins just kind of obsessed with Dean Ambrose, and he barely even mention Shinsuke Nakamura's name. But on SmackDown, I believe you saw on this week's episode where Nakamura's like, "You broke my heart, Seth. You didn't even pay attention to me." And he has the video on his phone.
Shinsuke's great as
I'm
this
obsessed
heel
with
run
you.
is going on not right now. Fans aren't liking it online. Some of them aren't, but I'm loving it. Shinsuke's killing it.
I hope that this brings about more actual U.S. title feuds from this match.
I'd like to see Shinsuke go over in this match. He was really like the IC title in New Japan was his belt. So for him to go over Rollins, I think that'd be kind of fun to see. In the Women's Survivor Series elimination match, Team Raw is Natalya, Mickie James, Nia Jax, Tamina Snuka, and Ruby Riott. So to go back to the women's pay-per-view, Evolution, Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka had a moment where they kind of took over as the two powerhouses. They're going to be on the same team here. I do like that. They'll be taking on Team SmackDown. You got Carmella, Naomi, Asuka, Sonya Deville, and TBA. Who's TBA? What does that stand for? I'm just kidding. Do you have someone in mind, either of you, that you think is likely to come back? Maybe a Trish or a Lita?
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that.
I'm banking for former Universal Champion Vacant.
Ooh, I love Vacant. Gosh.
Oh, he's the most decorated champion of all time.
I think he's held them all.
He's the Grand Slam champion. I think Trish is a good idea. In all seriousness here, and I'm not talking about Lance Storm, but I think Trish would be great. It'd be get the nostalgia pop, and it would be an actual situation where mystery partner actually lives up to the billing, because oftentimes in professional wrestling it doesn't live up to the billing, at least in my mind. So I think that would be cool. But other than that, there's not really anyone I can think of. Maybe Nikki Cross. Actually, I love Trish. I want it to be Nikki Cross because Nikki Cross is awesome.
Trish is my all-time favorite, but I think I'd rather see Nikki Cross. Also, we don't have either of the Iconics on here, so that I wouldn't mind seeing my fiance on there as well.
But they're hated by all the women because they ran them down before the
That's
Battle
true.
Royal.
Here's what's gonna happen: one of they're gonna come out, and then the girls are gonna be like, no, and then Trish or Nikki Cross are gonna come out, or Nikki Cross will come out and like just annihilate them both, and they'll be like, all the girls on SmackDown will be like, oh, okay, just go, you start. Yeah, once again, I'm not big on these matches because it's hard to get heat across, but I know there was the stuff on Raw to end the show, but that was more about Becky than it was a feud between Raw and SmackDown women's
that was
divisions.
all about Becky and Ronda.
Exactly. For the men's Survivor Series elimination match, you've got Team Raw, Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre. Those fellas have been involved for quite a while now, as well as Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley. And then you got Team SmackDown, which is The Miz, Shane McMahon, who is the greatest in the world.
Best in the world.
The best professional wrestler in the world.
Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, and Jeff Hardy. Do you guys... do you care? Does it matter? Who cares, right?
Well, being the only one who watches Raw, that'll be my title from now on. The one who watches Raw.
I like that.
So the opening of Raw was the tag team battle royal to figure out who the captain of the tag team elimination match is, but was interrupted by Braun Strowman, a la the build up to WrestleMania, where he became the champion or to one number one contender, but in a similar fashion, just kind of decimated and wrecked house and throw everyone out, and then they kind of just cancel the match. And he sits in the ring and demands that Baron Corbin come out to pay for his crimes at Crown Jewel. And instead, Stephanie McMahon comes out and then tells him that, you got to do this Survivor Series thing first. And so he complies only if he gets a match with Brock Lesnar for the Universal title upcoming afterwards, and he gets to choose a stipulation for that match. Stephanie agrees, and he asks for a match with Baron Corbin afterwards. She agrees to that, and he picks a stipulation for that. So what I'm hoping is he just doesn't even care and just kind of mows down everyone just so he can win and then gets his hands on everybody.
Well, in theory, this year he should win because one James Ellsworth is not on the roster to eliminate him. So I think
this is true.
I think it's Braun Strowman's year for Survivor Series.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care too much. Moving on to what would have been the Champions versus Champions match. Ronda Rousey, as the Raw Women's Champ, will take on Charlotte Flair, who will be taking the place of Becky Lynch. Are we jumping the gun here? Should they have held this out and either not had a match with Ronda and done a promo thing, or had somebody else in Becky's spot instead of Charlotte? Or what's your take overall on this?
I think the choice was the right choice.
Even with no build-up or heat, really.
Yeah, because if Becky can't go, who's the one person that you're going to pick besides her?
And there kind of was build-in heat. We've heard about this since Ronda Rousey at Royal Rumble last year. I was like, oh, well, we're going to get Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey. And
part of me is saying it's the right choice, too, is because selfishly I'm hoping that they do their Ronda versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. And them getting this match out of the way now is, I think, a step in that direction. Plus, you add the whole Becky Lynch situation to this match, even if she doesn't get involved, which I don't think she would. She might, because there's some things that someone could do with a concussion without risking hurting themselves, like maybe a distraction or whatnot. But there's still a lot involved. There's the whole Becky Lynch Charlotte thing, which is really... It's a weird spot right now because they hugged on SmackDown with the history they had, and a lot of people are hating on that, but I don't think I am, because I think that was an insincere hug, kayfabe, and I think that Becky has something dastardly up her sleeves for Becky Lynch, or for Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch has something dastardly up her sleeve for Charlotte Flair, excuse me, and I think that's added into this match, plus the whole Becky Lynch and Ronda thing. It just makes sense. I wish Becky didn't get hurt, but since she did, this makes sense.
Aiden, why or why not is this the best replacement for Becky Lynch?
Well, I mean, why not have Ronda Rousey versus the former title holder of the man? And plus, when you take the entire SmackDown women's roster, there really isn't any else you can really put in that spot against somebody as big as Ronda Rousey. The only problem I have with the hug that was mentioned on SmackDown was it just, first of all, it didn't feel genuine. So maybe at least something, but I feel like Becky should have been like, well, since I can't compete, I guess I'll just have to go to somebody that, who actually makes me go to my limit in every match, and that would be, and just kind of points at Charlotte Flair.
Okay.
Because, especially with their last match being at Evolution, to be like, this is the woman who nearly defeated me in the last women's standing match. So she'd be the only person I'd trust to go at one-on-one with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, that's true. But also there's rumblings of 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen match that could take place in the future. And
this
you'd
is the
have
place to do it, man. Damn.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
not
next
anymore,
year.
but
yeah,
and you have to reunite Charlotte and Becky at some point for that. But I think that's too soon. I think there's still a lot of heat between them, and that they still have unfinished business. So I'm hoping that, as you said, didn't look like a genuine hug. So that's why I'm kind of hoping it wasn't kayfabe. That I'm hoping she's gonna do something. I hope she costs Charlotte at Survivor Series so she can be the first one to beat Ronda Rousey. She's not going to let Charlotte be the one to beat her.
All right.
That's my prediction, and that's my hope.
I kind of like that. I do think, okay, so I'm not arguing that Charlotte isn't the right person, at least to give us the most entertaining match. I just wonder if I know that they're forced into this because of the Becky Lynch injury. I just worried that the build up that we would have wanted won't be there, but it's fine. They can have
had
another match.
They only had one day to do it.
Yeah,
it's very true.
That's the unfortunate thing about it, because the build up for the Becky Ronda match was there for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Our likely main event: Brock Lesnar and
this
Daniel
is definitely
Bryan.
main event. It's Brock Lesnar
That's a good
and
point.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers for Daniel Bryan's neck and head right now.
Yeah, that's what
That's my worry.
America's co-host Jameson Rabbit replied to our Schmozcast, saying that is, how dangerous it could be for Daniel Bryan. This is great. This is one of the dream matches that Daniel Bryan had, not only while he was injured, but even going back to before that. Like, he wanted the Brock Lesnar championship match, and he wanted it at WrestleMania. Paul Heyman was clamoring for it as well. Daniel Bryan has always talked about wrestling this kind of ground-oriented, almost like a chimpanzee kind of style, like where he's kind of moving around crazy. And referring back to my Sheamus video with Daniel Bryan, the workout video, he shows us some of that, and like how the way he works out is for explosion, and that he can move around in these different ways because of it. And he kind of shows off this really weird, like his torso is still very close to the ground, and the way he can kind of like wrap around it was very like apish, like chimpanzee, and it was very cool. And it really would be a different style that we haven't seen. And
that would be fun.
And yeah, it would be very fun. And Lesnar's never really had something like that. So this has been a dream match that we are all of a sudden getting. So while we talk about some of the issues with other stuff on the card, this is exactly where it should be. And it's a Big Four pay-per-view. I think this is what a great move this has been. I'm still so surprised by last night. And Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar, champion versus champion. This is going to happen.
And Daniel Bryan's champion again after everything that he's been through. I mean, it's kind of overshadowed by his heel turn, but he's WWE World Champion once again. How great is that? On top of that,
3-time now, right?
3 times.
Because he had it for
4 if you're counting the World Heavyweight Championship 2.
No. So his first title win was at, I think it was SummerSlam, and then Randy Orton cashed in.
Well, yeah, that was his first WWE title, but before that, he cashed in Money in the Bank on Mark Henry
and
or
he
Big
lost
Show,
to
one of the
Sheamus
two.
at WrestleMania.
Lost it.
So this is his 5th world title.
5th world title.
I see.
Yep.
I just hate there being 2 world titles, but for this case, for Sunday, a champion versus champion, I'm okay with it for this occasion, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I like the 2 championships because I like this distinct brands. But you mentioned the Daniel Bryan, the dichotomy of him versus Brock Lesnar, and him being Dan Bryan, having to change his style up and all that. But another thing that we get thrown into this mix now too is because of what happened last night. Not only does Daniel Bryan have the advantage, but it's believable that he can stand toe to toe with him because of what you mentioned with the style he's going to try and wrestle, which I hope happens. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, he's now a heel. So he can do things that Daniel Bryan previously wouldn't have done. He can try the low blows, the eye rakes, when the refs aren't looking, things like that. And the way that Paul Heyman talked about Daniel Bryan, bringing up HBK when talking about him on Tuesday Night SmackDown, maybe he becomes a Paul Heyman guy. I think that's a very minor possibility, but I think that's still in the back of my mind that could happen. So there's a lot of interesting things. And like you said, it's a dream match. And I am super pumped for this match.
What I'm looking forward to is, now you kind of mentioned the heel tactics that Daniel Bryan could use now. Now we kind of have 2 different heel strategies possibly going into this, where you have Brock Lesnar just doing heel bully tactics, where he just kind of throw his opponents around the ring and just overpower them. And then you have Daniel Bryan, which has heel sneaky tactics, kind of going behind the ref's back and doing stuff that you're not allowed to do, like really forcing that 4 count in the corner or on the ropes or whatever. So that'll be interesting stuff that could happen in this match.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for this main event for Sunday. Daniel Bryan just is still going to be the crowd favorite, though. Like, there's no way he wouldn't be, right?
And that's totally fine.
And this is the building where
Becky Lynch is a heel right now, too.
This is the building where he lost, where he won and then lost at that SummerSlam that you talked about. This is that same
Oh.
building where he got cashed in on after he won the title from Cena.
This is cool. This is really cool.
Yep, could be
Nice.
a very special weekend. So
I hope he wins.
absolutely.
Beat Brock Lesnar.
Oh, that'd be so cool. And it wouldn't hurt Brock either necessarily because he's still champion.
Especially if there's a low blow or something involved. That definitely wouldn't
I'm
hurt.
calling a low blow win.
All right.
I hope so.
Then Brock can get a taste of what AJ Styles is feeling for the past year.
Yeah, there you go. For the NXT TakeOver War Games card, this is the second year they've brought back War Games. First match in the War Games match, we've got Undisputed Era versus the War Raiders with Ricochet and Pete Dunne. War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne. Is this a weird combination? Does it matter?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird, but it works because the way that they've been intertwined the past month to 2 months with all their storylines, it makes sense. It works.
Yeah, because
it'll be great.
Adam Cole and Ricochet have had their things. Pete Dunne can have an issue with anybody.
I mean, he had issues with
Oh no, you might, mate.
with Undisputed Era not too long ago, I
Yeah.
think. So it's gonna be fun.
Sure, they've had their match as well between Cole and Dunne. There's a lot of stuff there. I wasn't talking about Michael Cole and Kevin Dunn, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering. All right,
Michael Cole, baby.
yeah,
That'd be actually a pretty good match.
that would. You know what? I'd throw some money down.
I'm cheering for Michael Cole with that one.
Oh, for sure. Aim for the T.
It's Cole time.
What's
Could
up,
bring
Doc?
out his orange wrestling gear.
Oh God, the headgear.
Yeah.
We also have
Hey,
the NXT
he's
Championship match.
Michael Cole's undefeated at WrestleMania.
Oh God,
The only one now.
Tommaso
'cause Taker isn't.
Ciampa, your champ versus Velveteen Dream. This card is so awesome. I know there's only 4 matches, but my God, this is going to be something very special. As it always is, I expect NXT TakeOver to be much better than Survivor Series is, top to bottom in almost every way. The stories, the matches, the wrestlers, the styles, I mean, the commentary, everything, it all stacks up really for NXT, and they only have like a third of the matches, and it doesn't matter. But Ciampa versus Dream, going to be great stuff. I think Ciampa holds on here, but I think Dream and Ciampa will put on a wonderful match. You also got Baszler and Kairi Sane going at it again, 2 out of 3 falls match. Got to be very excited for that too. So they're now tied 2-2 in their 4-match series, at least in WWE. And whoever gets 2 pins is going to be your winner. That should be another great one too. That one, any one of these matches could steal the show. War Games. Yeah, it's great. It's fun. It's different, but I don't need it. It's not something I get too pumped for. Like it'll be cool.
It's just some fun chaos.
But
for you.
yes, but I think the other 3 matches are more what I'm looking forward to. And then you've got Gargano and Aleister Black. Is that going to be the main event? I mean, that's what we have listed last. It's not the NXT Championship match, but that is a huge storyline that goes back months now between Aleister Black and the unidentified assailant and Attack and Gargano's heel turn. So, which one are you looking forward to most?
That's really tough because all 4 matches are going to be great. I'm looking forward to all 4 matches. I'm excited there's just 4 matches because it's still going to be their same 2.5 to 3 hour show, which means all 4 matches are going to get quite a bit of time, I would imagine, especially the War Games match. Yeah. But it's tough. I'd say it's a toss-up right now between the championship match because of my love for Velveteen Dream and for Tommaso Ciampa because he's awesome too, and the Gargano and Black match just because the story behind that match, the heel turn of Black, everything that they've been doing is just... It's been one of the better storylines in all of professional wrestling. So, it's tough. If I have to choose between one of those... Sheesh. The Gargano and Black match, simply because I'm looking forward to seeing what this Gargano heel run's going to do. And I also think that one is more up in the air than the other one because I think the championship is staying with Ciampa.
Aiden, which one are you, if you only could watch one match on Saturday night at NXT TakeOver War Games, which match would it be?
Fortunately, I have to be biased to go with the Velveteen Dream against Tommaso Ciampa. And I'm kind of thinking that they'll keep the title in Ciampa, but I thought the same thing at Evolution for Kairi Sane and Baszler, so they could throw a bait and switch there. I'm hoping for it since, of course, I want the Velveteen Dream to have an NXT Championship experience.
Good stuff. Okay, if you could only watch one match for the entire weekend, what would that one match be?
That is an evil question.
It is. I'm an evil guy.
Not
Did I mention
Sonata
I bowled
either,
a 666 last night?
Oh, fitting. The whole weekend? Jeepers, dude.
One
That's
match.
a tough one.
Yeah. I'm doing it to you. You want me to go to Aiden first? Hemming and Hawing?
I have it between Black versus Gargano, and Brock versus Styles. I'll let you go to Aiden, and then I'll think about it during that time.
All right. Aiden, what do you got?
I
One
believe you mean
match.
Daniel Bryan, since Styles
Yeah,
is
Daniel Bryan. I
no
don't know what
longer
I said.
on
I don't
the
know what I
card.
said, but I meant Daniel Bryan.
What do you got, Aiden? One match. You can only watch one this weekend.
still going with the Velveteen Dream.
All right.
Ciampa.
I'll go with Brock and Daniel Bryan, and then I'll watch the rest of the shows on tape delay on the network later in the week.
Oh, Jesus. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. The show is over, but you can help put us over a little bit more by giving us a like and or a follow on social media. We got your Facebook. We got your Twitter. We've got old episodes on YouTube. You can catch up for a full year's worth of the Schmozcast. And we got the Instagram, too. So check us out there at the Schmozcast for all your wrestling stuff. This is our 2-year anniversary. We're taking a little bit of a break, but we're going to be back in early 2019. We're going to do our schmozzies. We're going to hit it hard when we come back. We might have a new time and day. We'll keep you posted, but if you like us and follow us on social media, we're still going to stay up to date on that stuff. So you can still check us out. And as I said, we got a year's worth of back library that you can get caught up on if you are so interested. Thank you for listening to the Schmozcast. Men in Tights, you're listening to 103.5 The Sun, WLSP, LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.